and we're live. We are live on both platforms. Hi, Emily.
Excellent. Hi,
Yeah.
Todd.
Hi. Hey, everyone. So welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversation, and I'm really, really excited about today. I am here with my very good friend and colleague, Emily Pitman. Um, and and we're going to talk about the future of leadership, like what's a leader, rethinking leadership today. You can see it on the banner. Before we do that, Emily, can I pass it to you? I'd love it if you could introduce yourself to the folks here.
I will do my best to introduce myself. My name is Emily Pitman. I am based currently in Greenville, South Carolina, and I am the COO of Concord Leadership Group. I have gone through coactive training and have my CPCC, and the International Coach Federation has awarded me an ACC, and so I'm collecting letters like they're going out of style. And I am a mom of young adults. I have been married to my business partner for 30 years, and we like each other. And I love to play with fabric. I love to quilt,
Oh,
just
that's
to give some
awesome.
color to the introduction. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you, Emily. And I'm
Yeah,
really, really excited
absolutely.
to be here. I'm excited to be here with you today. So let's jump in. Yeah. Let's talk about
Let's
leadership.
dive. Let's
Let's
dive.
talk
Let's
about
go to the highest board.
leadership. Okay. So the reason that I was really excited about this conversation is because like you can't, oh, it's going to sound terrible. You can't spit without hitting someone who talks about leadership on LinkedIn. So what do we even mean? Like, what do we even mean when we say leadership? Like what,
Right?
because there's as many different definitions as there are people. So what do we mean, you and I right here, when we're talking about leadership? And you're the CEO of an organization. So take it
Yeah.
away. Tell us what we mean.
Yeah, yeah. So when we set up this meeting, because I'm a word person, it's either fabric or words that I play with.
Mhm.
I had to go to my preferred dictionary and actually look up the definition. And so I discovered some things at Merriam-Webster.
Cool. Okay.
The definitions of leadership are not nearly as exciting as I wanted them to be.
It-
They basically are you're a leader if you have a position of authority, or you're a leader if you have skills. It was very boring. The
Wow.
synonyms are management and governance, administration, stewardship, or
Okay.
guidance and protection.
Okay.
That isn't what I mean at all. I mean, I
Interesting.
kind of get it. Like I have responsibilities, but to me, leadership, when I talk about leadership, and what is really curious to me, because I love words so much, is I'm wondering if this is going to be one of those wonderful definition evolutions that we see, because I think that the majority of people are not saying leader and they mean the position. I think that's
Mhm.
only I think that's the top of what leadership
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And so I think that we could be on the cusp of dictionaries having to redesign what the definition is because the culture is.
Ooh.
Isn't that exciting?
It is. It well,
Yeah.
and you know what comes to me when you talk about that is, before we started, like before we turned on the broadcast, you and I were talking about, kind of leadership we don't want to talk about, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
right, and it's and let's like whether we're talking about the CEO that we know who went to business school, or whether we're talking about the politician, or whatever, right? Like there's lots and lots of examples that I think a lot of us can come up with of like not great leaders
Right.
and what they are. So you and I talked about how we're not going to dwell in those spaces because it's very easy to
Right.
sort of go down that rabbit hole. We don't want to do that.
Right.
Um,
And we can't change it. Even if we were to go in that rabbit hole, there would be no impact. Today, the
exactly.
impact gets to be about people that make an
Right.
individual choice. Like we're making a choice to talk about leadership in the rainbow room.
Yeah.
Well, not the
Yes.
rainbow room, but
Right. Well, no, but sort of like the you know what? I'm not going to try to understand that metaphor. I would, because you've used it twice, and now I really want to know what you mean. When you say the rainbow road, you mean like sort of the
Rainbows and unicorns and
yeah.
Fruit Loops and
Okay.
yeah, just
Yeah.
happiness, all the good things. We're choosing the
Okay.
good parts version. Yeah.
And the thing that I love about that is the word choice. Because I mean, it comes
Mhm.
up over and over and over again, right? And I think that, when we're talking about like what makes a leader, to me anyway, and certainly, my stepping into leadership in the way that I have recently, which is different than the way that I did as a corporate leader.
Mhm.
What I've noticed now, even though I don't have, a large team of people and managers, whatever, reporting to me within the context of a corporate structure, what I do have, or what I feel like I have right now, is a much broader sense of choice and agency than I
Yeah.
did before. But that's something I had to create. That's not something someone gave to me.
No, no. No, because your
And
and a person's natural tendency is when they are in a well, I was thinking about this as like my path has been entrepreneurial for 25 years. So
yes.
I'm not amassing employees, nor am I interested in amassing employees, but I
Mhm.
am interested in impacting the community one conversation at a time. And I'm
Mhm.
interested in empowering my dream since I was a teenager was to be able to look at people in the face and say, you matter, and I need you to be part of the universe, even if we never talk again. You matter.
Mhm.
The things that you are wired with, your experiences, your hopes, your dreams are incredibly important to this organism that we call life on Earth.
Mhm.
They're not, you are not a mistake. Your love, your passions aren't a mistake.
That feels good. Like when you
Yeah,
say that, that feels good.
yeah.
And help me connect it to
Leadership.
leadership. Yeah, because I like
Hmm.
I mean I hear that what you're saying and it
Hmm.
feels good, but I got to tell
Right.
you, like, it feels good to me as a person, as an individual, as your friend,
Hmm.
and I know that there's a leadership component to it that's also important. So
Yep.
what's that?
Yeah. So I think being a leader with this whole like you matter context, it's about choosing to fill your shoes in the best way that you can. I think that's leadership. I think
Okay.
sitting at your work or standing at your work as your true and growing self
Mhm.
is leadership. I think
Mm.
that leadership is when you commit to self knowing
Mhm.
unapologetically. And sometimes that means growing and that's the therapy work, and then there's the coaching work, and that's all part of the
Mhm.
growing as a leader. But in as an individual leader, I think it comes not just from saying I'm going to run that. Yeah, I'm going to be the president of my HOA. Woohoo! I'm a leader. It For me, it's a much more internal working, and then the way
Mhm.
that it works with the relationships around you. What are my
Mhm.
strengths? What's my personality? What are the stories that identify me? All of those things, and how do they work together in the soup
Right.
of Todd to make Todd the leader of Todd, who by being Todd leader is able
Yeah.
to impact others' lives.
Oh, so that's fascinating to me. And the reason that it's fascinating to me, because it, like, what I'm trying to do, and I'm realizing that I'm trying to do this, is
Mhm.
even as you're talking about, leadership what I'm hearing is leadership is a component of being as
Mhm.
much or before it's a component of doing. And you know this about me, my knee jerk, my inclination is to default to do rather than to be, right? Like, what do I want to do with that?
Ah,
And leading Todd, right? Todd leading Todd, Emily leading Emily, right? Susan leading Susan, Mary leading Mary, etc. I mean, all of that is, what do I want to do with the B that you've just described? Because the first step, it sounds to me, is start here, start inside,
mhm.
and then work outward. And to me, like the connection is in um it to me it becomes a connection between self-acceptance, self-compassion,
Hmm.
and leadership, and that the very best leaders are the ones who can start from that space.
I think so, yes. Because think about
Mhm.
it, Todd. You had experience as a corporate leader, and I had experience doing leadership things where
Yes.
it was more like I was putting on my Halloween mask. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, here I am. I'm corporate leader. I mean, that's when I was diagnosed with clinical depression, you know? So
Uh-huh.
there was a lot of internal work to be done.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so yeah, we can do the Halloween mask leadership and we can
Hmm.
perform. But
Hmm.
but now I'm performing. Now I am
Hmm.
acting as a leader. I'm running a company. I'm actually running a couple companies. Eh,
Hmm.
but because I've started with the internal work, I
Hmm.
love what I'm doing. I dream about it. I spend so much
Yes.
time thinking about it. So totally different.
The mask is that really resonates when you said that, because my family used to call it work Todd. There's work Todd and there's home Todd.
Mm. Uh-huh.
And I think that it was required because work Todd really wasn't very pleasant.
Yeah.
Like work Todd
Gotta
wasn't
get
a nice
stuff
guy.
done. You gotta
Mm-mm.
get
Yeah,
stuff
well,
done.
yeah, and and to the and I know we said we weren't going to go into bad leadership, but to the detriment or to the exclusion of other things, right? Like, if I
Mhm.
look at, leader Todd, work Todd from, X years ago when I, the various corporate whatever things, um,
Yeah.
the idea of creating high performance and creating, successful delivery of whatever it was we were delivering through human to human connection rather than through, just telling people what to do seemed like I don't, to be perfectly honest, I don't think that that's a message that I would have been
Mhm.
able to consume, like,
Yeah.
say, 10 years ago.
Mhm. The
It
picture that just came into my head when you said that is like the difference between a director of a play that
Mhm.
just says, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then the
Right.
director of a play or a movie that enables the actors and actresses and even the scenery team
Uh-huh.
to have their say in what are we building and what are we doing together.
Yeah, because they're all artists, aren't they?
Hmm.
And the two things happened when you said that. Like, I love that analogy, by the way. But two things happened. The first thing that I want to just name because it was so noticeable is, when you described, the director who just says what to do versus the director who, you know, creates the scene so that, right, is like my shoulders went down, and something
Ooh.
just, yeah, like something got looser and like more fluid, which I'm not used to in these conversations.
Oh.
So, so good for you on that one. Like, you just did something new. And but the other thing also is trust. Like, the word trust popped into my head. And I think
Oh,
not
yeah.
just trust of self, but trust of the people around you, right?
Mhm.
Like the ability to ask for help, the ability to rely on the creativity and the resourcefulness. And if we go back into, because you and I both have a coactive background, if we go
Uh-huh.
back into, right, natural creativity, resourcefulness, and wholeness within that
Mhm.
space, it's really believing and trusting in that, naturally creative, resourceful, and whole exists in another person, not because of how they're skilled, not because of things they do, but simply because they exist,
They
because they
are.
be, right?
Yes. Right.
And so so what's popping up for me as we talk through this line is that an essential element of leadership is release, unclench, let go,
Mm, yeah.
surrender.
And I would pair with that, um, expect the same possibilities from the people that you're releasing to. Like, to go back to the example of this stage, if the director has done the work, done the study, it's trusting that everybody else has as well, and everybody else has the ability to do it. And so it's almost, so here's where we can lead is, I have done my work, I'm continuing to do my work, I could see myself doing my work until the day I die, and I expect and hope for that from the people in front of me, to go,
Mhm.
to my kids. Like, there are seasons of parenting when you have to trust that this child, as you have to love them for who they will be, not for who they're presenting as today.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what leadership is when you've got a team of people, it's not necessarily who you see, the behavior you see today. It's
Mhm.
seeing past that for who they will be, and wanting that for them often more than they want it for themselves. I mean, that's coaching, right,
That's
Todd?
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
coaching. That is
Yeah.
coaching. But within this context, like, as a leader, and let's, because here's the thing, right? This is LinkedIn and YouTube, but I mean, this is LinkedIn, and the people that you work with, people who work with, this is like, if we look at it from an organizational perspective, right? So,
Uh-huh.
I'm at work, I have a leadership role or something like that, wanting for that person because I want for what they shall be, I want for what they're capable of, is
Mhm.
very different than I want this team to produce results.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find really, really interesting, and this comes up, I know this has come up in your practice, I know it's come up in mine, is the leaders who are able to sort of have that want, and I've never heard it expressed quite like that, but I love it. The leaders who can have that want are the ones who are capable of building high performing teams, and it's those high performing teams that produce the results. So it's almost
Mhm.
like, the leadership responsibility is removed from the 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 KPI,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of, yeah, it's there. Amanda's got something to say. I just, sorry, glasses. Yeah, I'm just gonna pull it up on the screen. Amanda said, brilliant redefining of leadership. You and your staff never know who they can be if you don't release.
Mhm.
Thank
It's
you,
so
Amanda.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that Mark and I have felt for so many years is that I am not in my position as a leader to stay in this position as a leader. If I'm truly a leader, I'm already planning the way for who's going to sit in my seat next. It's never about me. It's
Yeah.
always about who gets to do this next. Who gets to do this next?
Hmm.
Because leadership shouldn't come with lifetime guarantees, and
Yeah.
that release is so important. You can't, this is gonna sound
Go for
crazy,
it. No,
but
go for it.
you can't be a leader and have an ego. You just
No,
can't.
I think that makes a lot of sense. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, before you said that, what was popping into my head, Emily, was like leadership in the service of, and then fill in the blank.
Hmm.
And like, there's a term that's used in like in agile all the time that people talk about servant leadership. And
Yeah.
I know that it's like there's some challenges around, sort of how that structure gets put together and how it's, implemented in different places.
Hmm.
And frankly, I've seen it weaponized a few places as well. So I don't want to get into that. However, at its core and what it's intended is servant leader, like leadership in service of whatever. And if it's in service of myself, then is
Hmm.
it leadership or is it something else?
Right.
And it's not to suggest that I shouldn't want for myself. And I think that this is the thing that's really interesting because it would be very easy to sort of turn this into, okay, so leadership is necessarily altruistic and it's necessarily, outward focused. And the very best leaders are the ones who can become ascetics and not want for anything at all. And
Right. Right.
and that's not it, right? Because the thing is
Mhm.
like, we're all human and we're all going to have those wants, we're going to have those things, right? It's just, is that leadership or is that something else? And maybe there's an opportunity I hadn't thought of this, but maybe there's an opportunity to sort of create that division or that structure, right? Like I'm human. I'm going to have an ego. I'm going to have wants. I'm going to have needs, desires, whatever that are about me.
And that's not bad. That's
No,
incredibly healthy. Yeah.
right. And that's also not perhaps leadership. And I may be saying something controversial, and I'm waiting for the comments to explode just in case.
Yeah. I wanna roll that around a little bit. That is really interesting. You know, as I'm thinking about ego and leadership, I'm thinking about, the like, total fangirl of the Coactive Leadership book
Yep.
and the different and thinking about how the in that book, um it talks about your kind of your position in the room or your position in the relationship. So there's, the front of room leadership, which
Mm-hmm.
is okay, the leaders, the people
Mm-hmm.
you would call the leaders, but then there's back of room leadership, which are
Mm-hmm.
probably more servant leaders.
Mm-hmm.
But they also talk about this side by side leadership. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing where you are in relationship is going to help you to know how you are going to show up as a leader. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to show up as a leader with my family, particularly my young adult kids, in the same way that I will show up as a leader with a team that's getting a social media thing ready to go out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, we're going to show up differently in those different relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you brought in the coactive model, right? Because front
Mhm.
and back are the ones, and the thing that's really cool about front, because front is the one that people always think of, right? Like front is forward ho, let's go, right? And you mentioned the model, and there's a posture, right? And
Mhm.
front of leader, it's absolutely we're going forward, but also come along with me,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Bring them back. And so it's
Yes.
it's not just follow me, it's follow me and I understand who you are
And
and what you
yeah.
need.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
the old saying is, if you think you're a leader but there's nobody following, then
yes. Yes. And I think that the step two is going back to the earlier parts of this conversation, when you can step into the humanity of that space. Because
Mhm.
when I think of what I long for from a leadership perspective in this world is leaders who operate from that perspective of creating human to human connections.
Yeah.
Because I think that's actually what's going to get us out of the mess that we're in,
Mhm.
right? It's and Anatomy of Peace, the book, and I love the Anatomy of Peace. The Arbinger Institute. I didn't know that I was going to talk about it, so I forgot the name of the people that wrote it. But in a nutshell, it's we can see when we're in conflict with other people, we can see them either as people or we can see them as objects and obstacles. And it's when we see them as people that we can create from it, and
Yes.
we actually have an opportunity to lead.
I love that. I love that.
So yeah. Oh, hang on.
Thank you, Mignon.
Yin Yang, let's pull that up. Grateful for this conversation about releasing and developing others while letting go to move forward and come with me now. Oh, thank you, Mignon.
Mhm.
That's juicy. That's a good
Yeah.
comment. I love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh
That's
my
great.
goodness. Yeah. So
Okay.
where do you want to go from here?
I mean, we need to take care of all the world problems, but I don't think we can do that in a minute and a
Well,
half. 6
probably
minutes.
not. I
Yeah, yeah,
wish.
yeah.
I wish. I wish.
I mean,
Maybe
go,
go ahead.
go. No, you.
Well, I was just gonna say, maybe this would be a good time for me to ask you about some of the work that you're doing with your organization in this, because
Sure.
I know that you've got an opportunity coming up
Yeah.
in the not too distant future, and I would love to ask you about that so that people can know
Okay.
about it as
So, Concord Leadership Group offers a coach certification program. It's
well. Mhm.
usually 10 weeks long, and it's called quad
Okay, one more
quad
time. This is why
quadrant.
live is so much fun.
I can't get the R sound. 2, 3
Yep.
quadrant. Quadrant 3 leadership coach certification.
Okay.
It's 36 credits from the International Coach Federation Awards if you go
Cool.
through the program. So if you're a
Okay.
coach and you want more credits, we're there
Yep.
for you. And so our next cohort starts January 23rd. And if you're
Wow.
interested,
Okay.
I'm going to say this right now. If you're interested in joining us, you can apply at conqueredleadershipgroup.com/coach certification.
Okay. And
Um,
we'll put that in the comments on LinkedIn of this as
mhm.
well, so that folks can just go there directly. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. So so this program is 10 weeks and it's based on coaching and leading. And we really do kind of a deep dive. Quadrant 3 is that space. Let me see if I can do this quickly. Like we call quadrant 1 of leadership is kind of where you are a leader because you have done all the right things all your life and you've like you were on the honor roll, so you went to college,
Mm.
you got a job, so you got a job, sort of thing. Quadrant 2 is
Positional,
where,
like positional leadership, is that
yeah, kind of, yeah,
okay?
yeah, positional. um
Okay.
and you just kind of land there and you're like, hey, I'm a leader.
Sure.
Quadrant 2 is when you want to grow as a leader and you start trying on different leadership
Mhm.
hats. Well, what happens to a lot of us when we try on other people's hats is we find out they don't fit. And a lot of us tell ourselves, oh, it must be me. I'm not really a leader.
Mhm.
Quadrant 3 is moving into that next space where you begin to experiment and begin to get to know
Mhm.
yourself, that inner work of what are my
Okay.
strengths, what are my values, what are my goals, what's my personality, what are my stories, and beginning to bring those into a place of living with integrity. And then quadrant 4 would be, kind of being a leader that does that all the time, that operates from this place of personal, we call it personal
Mhm.
integrity.
Mhm.
And so this is what the 10 weeks will cover, about how not just this work for yourself, but helping the people that you work with, the people that you lead, have this mindset. And we do a lot of we go through all the essential pieces that
Mhm.
ICF says, or this is what makes a
Okay.
coach a coach.
And
So
Emily, is it just for coaches or is it for anyone?
it's for anyone. We have
Okay.
probably 60/40. Most people are leaders in their organizations. They're not doing full-time coach work.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's for
Okay.
everybody.
But you don't necessarily have to have had any specific coach training in
None at
order to
all.
do it. Okay,
None
cool.
at all. No,
Good.
nope.
That's really neat.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
that starts January 23rd. So
Wow.
and then we've got 2 more sessions planned later this year if the
Oh, that's
winter
awesome.
session doesn't work. So, yeah, it's
That's
very
really good to
exciting.
know. Awesome.
Yeah.
That is exciting. I can't wait to hear more
Thank you.
about them because I think it's going to be really, really exciting to
Mhm.
see how that goes. You've done it before, right? This isn't your first.
Yeah,
This
this
isn't the
is
first
going to be
cohort.
cohort 11. We've got
Oh
40 people
wow!
that have gone through the program
Wow,
from around the
that's
world, even.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
isn't it?
fantastic. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
It's great. You know what? And I thank you so much for sharing that too, Emily, because candidly, I think work like that is extraordinarily important. I mean, and you and I have talked, my shtick is like I love the opportunity to build purpose driven leaders, to unlock
Mhm.
purpose in people who have that leadership mantle but have had a challenge in discovering what they want to do with it, and this sounds like a fantastic opportunity to sort of
Mhm.
further that mission. So I love it when I'm having a conversation with someone and our Venn diagrams are really tightly aligned.
I
I
know,
think our Venn
right?
diagrams are tightly
Yeah.
aligned.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Listen, there's only a couple minutes to go before we
Okay.
have to say goodbye, so last words. Is there anything that you would like to leave everyone with before we go?
Be brilliant
Mm.
and trust your brilliance. Yeah.
I love that you added that second part,
Yeah.
because the first
Yeah.
part scared me a little bit, but the second part, when you add the second part, that's like, oh, that's lovely. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You really are important. I really do believe that. And I love
Mm,
what everybody's doing. So,
yeah,
yeah,
me too.
continue to do it.
Indeed, indeed.
Mm.
So, Emily, what we're going to do is we'll put that link in the comments on LinkedIn so that you can take a look.
Thank you.
Um, And if folks want to reach me, I'm at toddcargus.com. Y'all know that already, or you can reach me on LinkedIn. And this has been a good conversation. I'm really glad.
I can't wait to do it again.
I think we should. I'm so glad you said that. Hi, Emily. It's been a delight as always. Awesome. I'm going to sign off. All right.
Okay.
And bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Okay. Bye-bye.